decided to dispatch British troops to the area and use the Australian and New Zealand troops training in Egypt to aid the Navy. George Bollinger was a bank clerk from New Plymouth, New Zealand. His German father had emigrated in the late 1870s. At 6 feet 4 inches, he was one of the tallest men in the New Zealand Expeditionary Force. Walter, known as Bill Ledley, was one of the shortest men in the New Zealand Army. He was working as a telegraph operator in Christchurch when the war began. The 31-year-old Ledley was a devout Christian, whose diary was filled with verses from the Bible. Ellis Silas was a 30-year-old artist from London who had immigrated to Australia in 1907. At the outbreak of the war, he reluctantly enlisted as a signaller after changing his mind several times.
I hate war books, soldiers and soldiering. I've not read a newspaper since the war began, and I don't intend to do so. All I know is there's a war on, that I'm doing my bit, and I'll be glad when it's over. How I hate this terrible life. Ellis Silas.
Oliver Cumberland from Scone, Australia, had enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force just to be with his younger brother, Joe. They both wrote often to their sister, Una. She had brought them up since the death of their parents.
Dear Una, I couldn't see Joe go alone and remain behind myself, and I think it will be better now we are together. I promise you I will never leave Joe wounded on the field whilst I have the strength to carry him off, and I know he will do the same for me. Oliver.
Cairo, Egypt, 12 March 1915. Dear old Una, we have finished our training now, and we are only waiting for the word to come for us to go to the front. I will be real glad when we do go. It won't be so monotonous there as it is here. I reckon they ought to put us all in the firing line and let us finish the Germans as soon as possible. I remain your loving brother, Joe.
You see from their letters, it was very simple to them. It was simply a matter of helping Britain, defending the empire. It was not something you had to think about a lot. And in that sense, they were very typical of thousands of Australians who